Hi, my name is Theodore Hom. I'm here with Mindclef, and today I'm here with my close friend and colleague in the cello section.
Samantha Blanco.
And today we're going to be talking about how we have been competitors and how we're able to overcome that and continue our friendship. So, a little bit of a backstory. We both go to Los Angeles County High School for the Arts. I am a senior, she's a junior, and she actually came in as a sophomore, so she came in when I was a junior. And I first saw her at a summer preparation thing we had, and I remember distinctly that um, the teacher was talking about like who to do the Brahms clarinet piano trio with, and one of the names was Samantha, and I was like, "Who's Samantha? I don't know who that is," and it was her, and so I thought, "Wow, she must be at a really high level," and at the beginning of the year, I think she got fourth chair, I got fifth chair, and of course, as having the competitive spirit, I had sort of an ambition to surpass her, and and she, of course, had an ambition to not get surpassed, and that's sort of where we are. I'd say, in the cello section, we were both at the closest levels out of everyone else in the section, so it was definitely an interesting dynamic we had, and we met. I thought she was extremely kind. I thought it was really impressive how someone can be so talented yet so humble. And so today we're going to talk about that and how we were able to move past being competitors.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's hard to say move past because it still feels something like that for me personally, like deeply entrenched in. But what comes to mind is that first day of that first summer preparation thing. I was brand new to this school, and then I come in and see all these people who would be my peers that I didn't know. But before, I don't think you were there on the day, but before even we said our names to each other, I remember we each played a section of a solo piece that we were working on, and we sat in a circle, and it was like this very daunting thing. But from the very beginning, it seemed like that was sort of how we would be known to each other, sort of like how we ranked in comparison to each other. Like I remember there was one person who went before me, a cellist who was principal and played Dvorak cello concerto, and I was like, he played, and I was like so nervous afterwards, like oh my god, everyone's so much better than me. But initially, like it's hard to see the person there. I guess I think that's like the issue. It's hard to see the person when you're the like first encounter is like, okay, this person's here, and then so on.
So we do have a couple of questions prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll answer first and then I'll answer.
Mm-hmm.
What is your musical background and how has competition played into this?
So for me, I started when I was 9 or 10 around, and I did kind of like the standard track. I had a teacher the whole time. I did some youth orchestras, and then I really got passionate about it, like to pursue it at professional level and around middle school. And then in high school, I auditioned for this art school. I think I wasn't always competitive. I really became more competitive in this environment in high school, both in this like art school and in extracurricular activities. But I distinctly always remember comparing myself to others, and it wasn't so much in a competitive light where it's like, it wasn't other people that I could directly interact with in the sense that usually it was people online. It wasn't people who I was fighting for a position with, but I always remember that like feeling of dread when somebody was better than me, and being unable to enjoy music on that level if there was somebody who I considered like my peer who was better than me, because I felt like I should be better than them. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a pretty similar background to her. I started around the same time, 9 or 10. And I didn't really choose to pursue music as a profession until halfway through the pandemic. And I was always hesitant about it. There's actually a story when Samantha and I sort of didn't really know each other. She asked me, do you want to do music professionally? And I said no. No, I'm not doing this because the competition is just really hard to deal with. And as someone who constantly wants to be the best, it's difficult to know that you can never be the best. And I made a joke where I said, unless you're Rostropovich, and she agreed with me. And I think that's where the friendship really started, because, if you don't think Rostropovich is the best cellist, then we can't be friends. What is your first memory of competition in music?
My first memory. Well, I can think about the first literal competition I ever participated in, but I didn't feel. I think I remember one time distinctly, and this was I want to say I was around 12 or 13. It was in middle school, so I was like, this is right when I was really getting very serious about it. I remember. I don't know if this is not really competition as much as comparison, but I guess I'll just go with this example. This is the first thing that comes to mind, but I think I was watching, and seems silly, but the Tchaikovsky competition, and I was watching them, and I think one of them was playing like some songs or something that I was working on, I don't know, but I started crying, because I mean, the level was, it was a double thing where it was like, it's just such an incredible display of musicianship that I was just so inspired, but also, I just felt like I'm useless, like I can never be at this level, and I just remember I felt so paralyzed by that. But yeah, more of a comparison thing. But
For me, I guess I care too much about these seating tests. My first experience was maybe 5th grade. I started in 4th grade, and in 5th grade, we had our first like seating test for something called YOLA. It's Youth Orchestra Los Angeles, and we did the auditions in front of everyone, and I thought that I did the best, but the teacher ended up giving the principal position to another student, and when I asked her why, she sort of said that there's a lot of, like leadership aspects that she took into consideration. Maybe I was more into it musically, but I think there's a lot more to that. It took me a really long time to realize that, and I'm still realizing it more, but it's tricky because you work really hard at music, and when you feel like you're not placed, if you feel like you're not, moving up the ladder, then it's like, is my hard work really paying off? So let me ask you, Samantha, getting back to you and I, we talked about this sort of a lot, and it was pretty, I was right behind you, but you mentioned how like you saw me as like your main competitor.
Yeah, well, the thing is, before Laksa, I had never been in an environment where, I was in an orchestra where there was seating, but it's not something I ever thought about. So it was really like a shock, I guess, to kind of be in this environment. But I knew from the beginning it was like, oh, she moved above somebody who's like older than her. There's like always this thing, you know what I mean? I never thought like, oh, I moved ahead of him, so I'm better than him or something. And it's never like something I wanted to do either. It just sort of happened that way, and then it was something I always thought about afterwards. And then it became a thing of like, if you play badly, they're gonna be like, why was she in the, it's like this whole
Yeah, I think there's a couple of times I moved up a lot, and I would like we have playing tests at school, and because I think it's fair to assume, right? It's fair to assume that if someone's moving up and someone's ranked higher than someone else, that they are a better player. But then that puts a lot of pressure on the person who moves up, because if they do badly, that's like, especially if they do worse than the person behind them, it's like, how did they pass them up? This was unfair. Because I think there is it's a little tricky because the auditions are so stupid. I know like they have to have a seating, but I'd say the far majority of the time the seating is not truly accurate, because of course it's like, what do you base it off? It's based off of how well you perform in this one 15-minute audition. And so I really think for us, when we were sort of discussing, like, it's fine, we're always like calling the other one better than the other. It's sort of like her argument for getting higher than me was that, you just like, it was this one audition or whatever. And then my argument for getting higher than her was, it was this one audition. It really doesn't mean anything. I think that's something that can really help someone cope with the loss of getting passed up. It doesn't determine your skill at all. And I think I'm not sure about you, but I still definitely feel that way. Like I'm still pretty passionate about seating.
Yeah.
I know it's stupid and juvenile, but especially the difference between second chair and first chair. When I during the summer I was part of this orchestra. It was a fantastic orchestra, and I was second chair, and we played the William Tell Overture, which she actually attended. Um, it is definitely difficult to sit there at second chair and watch the principal cello play that like really long solo, a 4-minute solo, and the second cello part is nothing to laugh at, but I really wanted that first chair solo. I mean, and I think that's just one piece where like 5 of us have solos where like everyone can, a lot of people, 5 of the cellos can feel special, but then imagine playing something like Scheherazade where there's only a cello solo and everyone else's part is definitely not as fun as that. At school I'm second chair and have to sit there while the first chair plays the solo and the foot serenade and and your foot. And so I think that's sort of a big reason why there's competition. Besides like the feeling of inferiority, there's also I want solos, I want to play the outside part, or in our case at our school our chamber ensembles are given to us based off of our auditions. So there are a lot of factors. I think something that can help with that is understanding that you can make the best out of what you have. So, for example, let's say you're playing the Dvorak Serenade for strings, and there's a couple of first stand cello solos, and you're singing third chair, which is where you're singing. You could go into that thinking, oh wow, I really would like just one chair higher, and I would have gotten one of those solos. Or you can go into that thinking, now I'm the principal of this section.
Yeah.
That you can make the best of it. In chamber groups, personally, I was a little frustrated with how frustrated I was with how the seating and chamber groups sort of didn't really align this year. But I'm really happy with my chamber group now. I'm in a piano quintet, and I think what's more important than like how good the ensemble can be is how far you go. Because I wish I could just be in a piano trio with like the best violinist and the best pianist, and we can do whatever. But there's also something really nice about working with stuff that you think you can't and actually making something out of it.
Yeah, I think I've been pretty fortunate in my chamber assignments, but I'd like to just go back to the thing about the like with seating and like the playing test. I remember, so last year in the beginning it was I was 4, you were 5, and then it switched, and then you were 3 and I was 5. But I remember the first playing test after that switch, and I think it really just showed how like this obsession, I mean obviously like we're saying, like caring about seating, it might seem juvenile, but it's just like it's a way that you get nervous for an audition.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, you care about something and you want recognition for it. I think it's logical, but this like having such an I don't know, like an obsession over it, to care about it so much, it becomes detrimental. I remember this playing test, and I felt like I did really badly, and I was crying afterwards because I was like, oh my god, not only did I move back, but then I played badly. Everyone must think I've just completely fallen off. But then I remember you were saying also that you were upset because you were thinking that, oh, you didn't meet the expectation that people would have of you for passing up to like going so far away from the chair that you started the year with. And I just think like wherever you are in this toxic like cycle, it's bad for everyone, I think. So I really feel like we need to shed this idea of like the person at the front is the best cellist and everybody else is irrelevant. I mean, everybody has a role, like you're saying. The third chair is the principal when the first two have a solo. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even in William Tell, 6-chair cello is the principal cello.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that just shows how even the back of the section can be really important.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, if you remove the first stand, but everyone else in the back sections can play, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have the front few sections, but those at the back of the section mess up a lot, and you know have whatever bad intonation, bad rhythm, whatever, that's going to make much more of a difference.
Yeah.
The row is just as important in the back as it is in the front.
Yeah.
And you know, getting back to that playing test. First of all, you didn't do that bad. I think you're really exaggerating how you did.
I don't even remember what it was on or anything. I
Me neither. I remember you being upset about that. I remember how nervous I was. I you know, when I think about it, I was the most nervous when I was last year, and when I was at the top, all the way at the back and all the way at the front. Because when I'm at the back, I feel like there's an expectation. Like some people might think, oh well, I'm at the back. There's an expectation that like I'm the worst anyways. But for me, I was thinking like I want to prove to people that you know I'm not the worst. Like you know, and then when you're at the top, it's like oh I want to prove to people that I deserve to be at the top. And so I think there is motivation that comes with the seating test, but you really have to find a healthy balance of, you know, get something out of it. If we have to go through it anyways, at least, like, you know, take the motivation. But once it's done, it should be done. People can be upset when they get passed up or moved down. And understandably, I mean, I would definitely. I was upset when you came in as an underclassman. You're a brand new student and got higher than me, but I think we did a good job at really like not letting that affect our relationship, right? I mean, because I mean that's really illogical.
Yeah. Someone
passes you up, and that just means that you have to look at them as competition. No, it should really be you can think of it as a challenge, or you can think of it as just something that happens.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the best. I mean, there's like 5 of us or 5 to 10 of us in an orchestra. Out of the hundreds of orchestras out there.
Yeah, that's another thing about like the relationship. I feel like personally, although I have to say my struggle with competition really happened a lot like in these recent years. I'm really thankful because I think like relationships that I've been able to have like with you and other peers, especially you as somebody who I would be in competition with, whereas you know there's other instrumentalists maybe we wouldn't compete as much directly, but I think having these relationships really can help with the struggles with that, because I think at the end of the day when we're in the midst of competition we forget that we're all people trying to do the same thing, you know what I mean? So I think that's super important.
Yeah, that is important. As Samantha mentioned, the next semester I passed her and another student up, and I didn't have much of a relationship with the other student, and I think that Samantha was extremely gracious about it because, well, in a way, it's you can also be happy that a friend is doing something well.
Yeah.
That they're showing growth. It doesn't really have to be I'm not like improving or like my skills are being diminished. It's just that you know there's also improving, and we can all, you know, in a perfect world, we could just do like chamber music and not have to worry about like seating. But then you know if you don't have these seating tests, then you know people are also going to be upset about that. So it is the best solution, but it does have its flaws, and I think the best way to overlook them is by seeing it as your friends and how you know somebody has to be someone has to sit somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can only be so upset about that. Moving on to another question. Has competition impacted your relationships with anybody?
I think I'm thankful in this instance for this relationship where I don't think it. But the thing is, I don't. I'm not really friends with any other cellists. I'll be honest about that. And maybe it's just we don't click or something. But I think it really is. It's something I have this problem. I really something I struggle with. I'm trying to change, but I have this problem of seeing people as better or worse than me. Worse than me, I don't give the time of day. This is a bad thing, and I recognize that. And it's not something. It's something unconscious. But if I consider them worse than me in some way, I just don't interact. But then if I consider them better than me, then they become somebody I try to please. And then in that way, not a friend. And sometimes I see myself doing that. Like I made this friend who's a cellist recently, and she's way better than me. She's really good, and I really look up to her, which is great. You need to have friends who you look up to, and obviously I look up to you too. You know what I mean? But like something about her, she had this distance from me in the sense that I couldn't meet her as an equal in my own mind, and it really prevents me from making more relationships. But yeah, so I just want to say I'm not sure how to. I guess being aware of that would be a first step in changing that. But I think finding people who inspire you and who are better than you, or better or worse, whatever. But I mean, everybody's better or worse than you in some form. But like people, like I think, like you're the only relationship I have to use as an example for this. But like today, for example, we played for each other. But to have somebody who can really meet you as an equal where you are, but then like push you forward without it being like I'm better than you, even if that's maybe the case. Like I have expertise that you don't have that I'm giving to you, but they can really like push you. I think that's so valuable, and I think that we can find that without having to be like, oh, you're better than me, so I'm beneath you, or I'm better than you, then so I have to give you everything. You know what I mean? Like sort of a balance, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A specific example of that, I think, for me would be with her. She has really good intonation.
Oh.
And intonation happens to be my weakness. And we're actually in a practice room right now, and we try to do it every week, but we really don't. We try to like play for each other, sort of give each other feedback. And I know that I took a lot of practice tips from her. It's the warm-ups she has, some stuff that I really should have been doing already, like really like slow practice with the drone, but watching her like and how she really like takes the time to practice, that's something I personally gained from my relationship with her. And does that mean that she's a better cellist than me? Not necessarily. I'm sure I do things that she could learn from, but I mean, I think that goes to show, let's say that holistically we're on the exact same level, we can still learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still going to have discrepancies that affect how we play, and we can use those together and both become holistically better cellists. How can you use competition to your advantage without letting it hurt you?
I think, competition has a lot of benefits. I mean, it's a necessary part of being a musician. I think being anything really at any high level, you'll have to compete. It's part of our survival. It's something that I think can be really rewarding when used in the right way. Like I think you and I compete. I think we compete. I think today we've done a little bit of playing together. We've been competing, right? But I like in some form, but I've not felt at any point like I need to be. It's just something that has been used to kind of push us forward, but never to like take anyone down. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a complicated question, but I think there are many ways we could probably. I mean, competition is something that's really necessary. So of course, I mean, we could use it to our advantage, but also we have to use it if we want to be high level at all. I think just the ability to not take, I know it sounds simple, but to not take offense, I guess. To be able to compete without it affecting our self-esteem, as people. I think, we should be able to, if we played badly, if there's something that we lack, we should be able to have that feeling that competition gives you, that dread feeling almost, where it's kind of like, oh, like because that comes from really wanting something, right? Like, oh, I that person did this better than me, and I want to be able to do that too, and you have this little tension there. I think that's important, because how else do we improve then? I mean, there's inspiration, of course, but we need that, I think, to some extent. But I think that the problem comes when that becomes, oh, well, I can't do that, so I'll never be able to do that, and I'm a bad person, or, oh, that they can't do that, so they're inferior to me. I think that's where it becomes harmful. So I guess just trying to be able to kind of have our self-worth as people separate from this idea of competition.
Mm-hmm. I think there's this idea, it's more for like business and a little bit more of the real world stuff, but I think it sort of relates in this sense. It's that motivation is temporary, but discipline lasts a lot longer. And so I'd say that the best way to really gain something from competition without letting it negatively affect you is use the competition to receive discipline, not to be better than someone else, because I can have the motivation to become better than this person. Okay, I do it, on to the next person, on the next person, and eventually you're gonna run into someone that you can't be better than. But if you instead think, oh, this person's really good, I want to be better, I want to be really good, I'm going to motivate myself to practice consistently, and almost like a competition with yourself, not competition with others, because like I was talking about earlier, there's so many cellists in the world. It doesn't matter if I can never be better than her, because she's just one person. Jobs won't be taken away from me because one person is better than me. And in the music world, there's also a lot more to it than being better or being worse, because then at a certain point it's just subjective. I mean, obviously there's a lot of technique like tone and vibrato and all that you can like, oh, I prefer this person over this person, but I think we're like, especially in classical music, which is a big reason why I started this project. In fact, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but oh well. You were a big inspiration for me starting this project. I thought it was really, I hadn't really been friends with that many cellists, and the ones I were friends with were either significantly better than me or significantly less experienced. And so it was pretty weird being friends with someone who is at like a very close level to me. Yeah. Very close. I mean, we're not going to play, but if you hear the two of us, we're very, very close in level. So I thought it was really cool how, moving past from, I talked about my first competition experience and how I was so upset over that to, like not letting that really affect me. Mm-hmm. Because we still became friends. We're still very close friends. I consider you my closest friend. Mm-hmm. My closest friend, even though we're direct competitors. Yeah. I think that really goes to show that, competition can really like bring something out. I mean, we're here practicing and like helping each other improve. Mm-hmm. I think you get closer because of that. If you think of it more as like less of, I need to be better than this person, or together we need to be as good as we can become, mm-hmm. then not only do you get a stronger friendship, but you both become better musicians, because you're not occupied with being better than one person. Mm-hmm. You're worried about them becoming better, and they're worried about you becoming better. You both make yourselves better musicians. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think discipline is what you can get out of competition, and because her being a higher chair than me didn't give me motivation to work to beat her. It gave me motivation to work to be like her. And I think if you think of it like that, then it'll be much easier if you end up in a scenario where you get passed up by someone, because you can think of it as more of, wow, I'm proud of them. Look, they really showed improvement. So you're our guest, even though this was more of just a conversation. We asked our guests similar questions. Do you think there's enough mental health resources in classical music?
I'll say no, because if I'm thinking about it, this is the only that I know of. Mindclef would be the only. And you could say, okay, well, maybe I need to do more research, but I think if I spend all of my life 24/7 immersed in classical music community and I can't think of any more, then that should be a pretty good indicator.
What's a resource that you'd like to see come out of Mindclef that we don't already have?
I know there's a lot of financial insecurity for classical musicians, and that would probably affect the ability to have access to like therapy and those types of resources that cost more. I guess something like that to help in that way. I mean, I know that's a lot, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, but
sort of like a fund to provide. We're definitely trying to work towards that. So do you have any last words for the audience?
I think my last thoughts would just be try to always stay connected to your why. This is something my mother tells me, but why are you doing music? And if you're doing music to be better than someone, that's the real reason deep in your heart, then I would try to think about that a little bit. I think remember that music is about people, and not only the audience, but the other people that you're playing with and other people who are playing, and just keep that in mind.
All right. Thank you, Samantha, and thank you for watching. Check out our website for completely free resources. And yeah.